From pushing a pencil to the rotation and revolution of Earth, all of it is physics. In fact, physics is all around us. But most of us are not aware of it because of the lack of knowledge in that subject. And gaining that knowledge in physics helps us to appreciate the small things in our everyday lives that most of us tend to ignore. So in this video, we'll be learning some important concepts that we use in our everyday lives. So let's begin. Now we all know that a force applied on the center of mass of an object will move the object in the direction of force. For example, if I apply a force on the center of mass of this pen in this direction, the entire pen will move in this direction. But what will happen if I apply a force away from the center of mass of the pen? We notice that the pen starts to rotate. But why does it start to rotate? That is because I am exerting a force called torque on the pen. Torque is nothing but a force that causes rotation. We all exert this force countless times in a day. Think of all the things that rotate when you apply a force to it. An example of torque would be opening of a door. When you push a door to open it, the door rotates. So the force you are applying to open that door is torque. Another example of a torque would be merry-go-round. When you push a merry-go-round at its sides, it starts to rotate. So the force you are applying to push that merry-go-round is also torque. Whenever we exert torque on an object, we exert it away from the center of mass of an object, or we exert it away from the pivoting point of that object. In the case of a door, its pivoting point would be its hinges. So we always apply a force away from the hinges of that door. And in the case of a merry-go-round, if we apply forces at the center, nothing really happens. Only if we apply force at its sides, it will start to rotate. Torque is directly proportional to the distance from the center of mass or from the pivoting point of that object. That is, if the distance from the center of mass or the pivoting point is greater, the torque will also be greater. Let us understand this with an example. Whenever we push a door away from its hinges, we are increasing the distance from its pivoting point. So whenever we push a door away from its hinges, the torque exerted by us will also increase. Torque is also directly proportional to the force applied by us. That is, if we apply more force, the torque exerted by us will also increase. Take this bicycle wheel as an example. When I apply more force to the wheel starts to rotate faster, which increases the torque. Since torque is directly proportional to the force and distance, the formula of torque will be force times distance. Torque also gives us a mechanical advantage. That is, we can rotate stuff with much less effort if we increase the torque. And an easy and simple way to increase torque is to just increase the distance from the center of mass or from the pivoting point. Do this simple experiment at home. Use some force to open a door, but open it away from the hinges. And then use more or less the same force, but this time you push the door closer to the hinges. You will notice that when you push a door closer to the hinges, the door would have moved just a small distance as compared to the distance that the door would have moved when you pushed it away from the hinges. This obviously happens because you are increasing the distance from the pivoting point, which increases the torque as well. So you see, this is how torque gives us a mechanical advantage. So the next time you want to rotate any object with less effort, just simply increase the distance from its center of mass or increase its distance from its pivoting point. So let's recap what we learned in torque. We learned that torque is a force that causes rotation, and whenever we apply torque, we apply it away from the center of mass or we apply it away from the pivoting point of that object. We also saw examples of how torque is directly proportional to force and how it is directly proportional to the distance from the center of mass. We also saw how torque can give us a mechanical advantage, and by mechanical advantage I mean we can rotate stuff with less effort just by increasing the torque. And a simple and easy way to increase torque is to just increase the distance from the center of mass or the pivoting point. So the next time you open any door, just remember that the force that you are exerting to open that door is called torque.